All right, let's go on with homework number 2. What type of problem in research is double blinding technique trying to eliminate? Okay, it's trying to eliminate two things. It's trying to eliminate experimental effect, and it's going to try to eliminate demand characteristics. Okay, so the correct answer is B and D. Okay, number 2. One study suggests that cigarette smoking leads to increased risk of heart attack. Another study found that cigarette leads to increased blood pressure. Which of the following might be a mediating variable for this increased risk of heart attack? So that would be the increased blood pressure. Okay, so it might be the increased blood pressure that is causing the increased risk of heart attack. So that might be the mediating variable for that. And number 3, in a trend analysis of a study, you see two turns of direction in the independent variable's functional relationship. You can then make a safe assumption that there are at least how many levels of independent variable in this study. So there will be 4. Okay, so the correct answer is C. So because in order to see two turns of direction, you need to, at the very least, to have 4 levels in between. Okay, number 4. If you see a U-shaped functional relationship in the independent variable, dependent variable plot, this is most likely a quadratic relationship. Number 5, sampling bias and sampling error occur when, is it A, the researcher figures out what the construct of interest, is it B, the participants in the study figure out about the theoretical framework in which the construct of interest is derived from? Or is it C, the researchers didn't really understand the research question? Well, I can tell it's not that, okay? Or is it D, when the sample doesn't accurately reflect the characteristic of the population? Okay, so the sampling bias and the sampling error. The sampling bias means that you are gathering somebody from the people from your population of interest, but you are only selecting some sort of bias. Okay, so let's say if your population of interest is all college students, but somehow you select only African American students, or if you select only Asian students in your population, that's a sampling bias. Okay, so that would mean that the sample does not accurately reflect the characteristic of the population. Okay, now sampling error is something very simple. It's very similar to the sampling bias. Now sampling bias definitely is included in the sampling error, but the sampling error can be something that is more random or not something that is not on a systematic basis. Now, bias is something that's systematic basis. Now, if you imagine if you are gathering all like if you are gathering people who are only Asians, who are only African American, who are only white, um, uh, to um, to really reflect the characteristics of the population, then that's a very systematic error, okay? But the sampling error could be both systematic or it could be random as well. Okay, so sampling error is just a little bit more broad compared to sampling bias. Okay. Number 6, sampling bias can possibly threaten a study's is it construct validity, internal validity, external validity, or reliability. Okay, so it can really threaten a study's external validity. Okay. Number 7, experimental effect is it A, and random error that researcher accidentally makes. Okay, so that's not it. Okay, is experimental effect as a systematic bias when the subject figure out what no, that's not. B is demand characteristics. Okay, is it C, and random error when the subject accidentally did not show up for the study? No, that's just a simple random error. So it must be D then. Let's see if D is correct. And systematic bias when the researcher's expectation may lead him to treat subjects differently in different groups that are being manipulated differently. Okay, so the correct answer is D. Okay, number 8, demand characteristic is, okay, so demand characteristic, as we said before, is something that the subjects figure out what the study is about. So the correct answer is B. Now let's take a look at what the other options are, okay? So A is random error of the researcher accidentally makes, which threatens the veracity of the study. So that's just a random error. So a random error is not demand characteristic. So you can see that demand characteristic is systematic. It's not random. Okay. So what is C? A random error when the subjects accidentally did not show up. Okay, so that is just random error. Okay. D. What is D? Okay, and systematic bias when the researcher's expectation that the okay, so D is experimental effect, like the previous one. Like that's the correct answer for number 7. Okay, so number 8, the correct answer is B. Number 9, double blind technique limits what? What does it limit? Okay, it try to limit experimental effect as well as demand characteristics. So the correct answer is A and D. So that would be E over here. Okay. 10. Double blind technique protects the study's internal validity. Okay, that's it. Double blind technique protects the study's internal validity. 11. Which of the following is not a construct? Okay, so what is a construct? Well, construct is something that's not measurable, but it's something more like a mental process. So it's not love, it's not intelligence, because these are not measurable. It's not aggression, because these are not directly measurable. So that would be distance from New York to LA. So the correct answer is C. Okay, number 12. Which of the following has nothing to do with external validity? Sorry. So which of the following has nothing to do with external validity? So the external validity is really the how generalized can the results of the study be to like other people, other places, other time. Okay. So that would mean, so it's not A, it's not B, it's not C, because so all of these has something to do with the external validity. So that would be, so the correct answer would be D, the precision of the instrument used measuring the dependent variable. So what is D? So this will be reliability. We're going to talk about this in the second week. Okay. 13. Which of the following has nothing to do with internal validity? Okay. Is it A, is it B, is it C, or is it D? Okay, so I'll tell you it's not A. A has a lot to do with internal validity, and so does B and C. Okay, so D has nothing to do with internal validity, but it has to do with construct validity. So the way that you are defining your operational definition is it has to do with construct validity. Okay, it's how you're defining the construct. Okay, number 14, true, false. If a study is repeated numerous of times and the result is always the same, then the study must have a very high validity. This is not true. Okay, so when something is repeated many, many times and the result is always the same, that only means that it has a very high reliability. So validity is how true something is, and then reliability is how repeatable or how reproducible are the results. Okay, so if something is repeated numerous of times and results are always same, it best tells you that it's very precise. So for instance, if I step on the scale and every time I step on it, it tells me that I am 10 pounds. I weigh 10 pounds. Okay, so the result every time is the same, but is it very valid? It's not, because I weigh about 150 pounds in reality. Okay, so that just means that this scale is very reliable. It's going to give you the same results over and over again. But is it the right correct? Is it the correct result? It might not be. Okay, so validity has to do with how true, how accurate the measurement is. Okay, reliability only tells you are the results reproducible. Okay, so that's a very big differences. You just want to make sure that. Okay. Number 15, if the study has high reliability, then it must have also has high validity. So as we said before, this is also false. Okay, when the study has high reliability, it only means that it's reliable in giving you the same results over and over and over and over again. Okay. Number 16, if a study has very low reliability, then its finding can never have high validity. That makes sense, right? So imagine if every time that I step onto the scale and every time it gives me a different number. The first time I step on it, it says I'm 5 pounds, and the second time I step on it, it says I'm 5,000 pounds. That's not very reliable, okay? Therefore, it can never be very valid either, okay? So number 17, if a study has high validity, then it must also have high reliability. This is true, okay? So reliability is a prerequisite for validity. So imagine if every time I step onto the scale, it tells me I'm 150 pounds, I'm 150 pounds, and the third time I step on it, it tells me I'm 150.1 pounds. Okay, so it's very valid to it's very close to what I truly weigh. Okay, and it's also somewhat reliable. It's giving me very similar outcome every single time. Okay, so just get that into your head. Okay, that's it for homework number 2.